Okay, so let's continue. So for today's class, we'll be learning about usability testing. So usability testing is basically when you test your product. It can be your prototype or it can be the product that is already launched for App Store. So it might not necessarily be app, it can be dashboard, website, wherever, basically digital product as a whole, where you test it on real users. So after the whole development, after you the whole development of the digital product, you can test it on real users, observe them using the product so that you can learn whether the products you develop actually solve the problem. So usability testing, it can be done when the overall digital product has been developed, or when you just finish designing, you can and you prototype your work, you can test with your prototype before it's actually being developed. So there are two ways, two scenarios in which you can carry out usability testing. So let's go through a few steps to take when creating usability testing. So before you start any usability testing, first of all, you need to know the problem that you are testing for, because remember what we said in our first class. Whenever you are doing as a product designer, you're actually designing to solve a problem. So whenever you're testing, that's either your prototype or the developed part version of the product, you need to be sure that you need to look at whether this prototype or this digital product that the users are testing, whether it's actually solving their problem. So you need to look out for them, because just like what we usually say, is beyond your UI looking very good. You have to look at whether the features that is in your application or digital product, whether it's actually solving their problem, whether it meets their need, whether it makes their life easier. So you have to look out for those things, because the first thing you need to bear in mind is that whatever you designed is actually trying to solve a problem. So it's beyond the beautiful UI. So whenever you're testing on with real users, you need to look out for them, look at whether your designs or the products you developed is actually solving the problem of the user. So so another thing you also need to bear in mind is so whenever you're carrying out usability testing, you don't need to test too many tags and features at once. Because if you look at any digital product at all, so remember what I mean by digital product is either a mobile app, a smartwatch application, smart TV application, or website or web application as a whole. That's what I mean by digital product. So because whenever you look at any data product at all, so different data products have different features inside them. Let me say, for example, you are designing a fintech app that helps people to pay for their utility bills. They can pay make pay airtime, their airtime bills. They can recharge their TV. They can sub for data with that app. So imagine this kind of app now, you know that this particular app has different features. So if you are testing this kind of fintech app, you need to test each features one by one. So for example, the first feature is the flow, where the user will have to purchase an airtime, all those stuff. So you have already designed the screen for that. If you are testing with the prototype, remember what I mean by prototype is the designs that you have come up with, not the developed version. So remember what I said earlier, when doing usability testing, you can test either the developed version of the app or just the prototype of the app. Like when you have finished designing your prototype of your work, you can actually test with that prototype. So coming back to our fintech app now, remember what I said, our fintech app has different features, and you need to test each feature. You want to test the feature where the user purchases an airtime. So you need to test it one by one, and also look at the user closely. When looking at the user closely, there are some things you need to take note of. You need to take note of their facial expression, their hand gestures, how they interact with the platform. If it's an application where they will have to use their desktop, the desktop application, You have to see how their facial expression is, because most times some user might tell you, oh, we like the platform, is very nice. They are just saying that to please you, but they might be hiding the truth from you. So in another situation, you might know the truth on how they are the experience they are getting through using the products. You might find it through their facial expression. Somebody might tell you, oh, the application is okay, it's smooth, but when they are trying to click, they are very confused. So you have to be very, very observant when doing usability testing. Test task by task or features by feature, depending on the feature your application have. So another thing is you also need to have like a threshold for success and failure. So let me say, for example, you design a particular app and five people are like, oh, the app is good. Genuinely, they say genuinely, oh, the app is okay. I love the future of the app. And we have another one person that was like, oh, I don't like the app. So in that kind of scenario, you know that 99% of people that tested the app, they like the app. So in that situation, you know that, oh, this application is actually doing well, because if like the general population of people we tested this on, they like the prototype, they don't have any complaint, you know that, okay, the app is doing well. So you will not likely judge by that one person, even if you might take down the person's opinion down. So, but you need to like have a metrics where you evaluate either you're successful or whether your testing is whether you're having some failure along the way when testing. So in a situation where, let me say, 98% of people are like complaining about a particular feature, you need to know that this is a feature that you need to like look into when you're trying to like work on the app again after testing. So another thing you also need to take note of is to choose your testing method. So when you're doing usability testing, it can be face to face or you can do it remotely. Though there are some websites that help you to do usability testing where you just need to upload your prototype and the I think that particular those type of application, they have people that will do the usability testing for you. You don't need to gather people. So some of those websites has advantages and disadvantages. We have usability testhub.com. I think I will get the link and paste it on the Discord group. So those kind of platform, they allow you to do your usability testing. You don't need to get people and gather them for them to use your product. You just upload the link there and they have people already that will test it and they will give you feedback in few minutes, either 2 minutes or five. So another way, and when choosing your testing method, you can do it face to face. You can call people. For now that we're still starting out, you can use maybe people that is around you, maybe people that is living with you or something. It can be your family members. You can call them to use your particular the prototype you came up with and watch their reaction, observe them, and also get feedback from them. So whenever you're trying to like um use the test method of face-to-face testing method, you can gather like five people, gathering like thousands of people, even if you get like five people, because there are some scenarios where the feedback you get from five people, if you have like up to 10, you still get the same feedback repeatedly. Let me say, for example, you have people and five people are telling you, oh, this application is good. So there is no need of getting extra 10 people that will tell you the same thing, because you want to like get the particular number of people that is going to like use your app and give you feedback that you're not used to. Because when these five people which are different, when they make use of your app, some of them might give you feedback that you're not aware of, because most times we might be very glued to our design, we might not know the issue that our designs might have. So when different people use it, they will tend to like give us feedback. So five people is just the best number. You can just call in five people, watch how they use it, observe them. So another testing method you can use is remote. It can be virtual, it can be through a Zoom call or a virtual call. So whenever you're doing a Zoom call, a Google Meet call rather. So whenever you're doing a remote usability testing, you need to like set different schedules, time schedule different for different people that are going to be testing the app with. You can even create like a tabular form like this where you outline the names of people, the time that they are going to come in for the test and the link that they are going to be using. So I know because in most scenarios you also need to like inform these people and know if they agree to this particular timing. So if they agreed, they're going to mark it here. So this is just like a simple um, table that you can just create to track the names of your participants, the timing, the meeting link they'll be using, and to know if they either whether they accepted or not. Because most time you might set a particular time, you need to confirm whether the timing is okay with the user. So if the user accepts, you tick good. So this is just like a table to help you like know the people that you're testing with. So another major thing you also need to know is that whenever you're doing this usability testing, you need to like have observers that are always there with you on the call. So it's not good for you to have like more than 2 observers. Most of these observers can be your project manager. So as one thing you need to know is that as a UI, as a product designer, you don't work alone. You have different people you'll be working with. You might have a product designer in your team. Somebody says she's finding it difficult to hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I can hear you.
All this while I was not being heard.
Oh, you're clear. Sophie, you may want to log out and log in or check your speaker or probably get an earpiece. Glory, you can go ahead.
Okay. So as a product designer, you don't work alone. You have different people that you'll be working with in your team. So most time you have your project manager. Project manager is the person that manages the whole people in the team and also give back and give feedback to the project owner. So you want to have a project owner on the call or even maybe the project owner, whichever that is your lead, so that they can observe and see what's going on when users are making use of the when they are testing the prototype or making use of the developed version of the app. So you just create this simple table to like track the people that will be testing your app. So another thing you also need to note when you're trying to do your usability testing is to know whether you're using the developed version of the app or the prototype version. So the developed version, remember, developed version, sorry, is the version that is coded because remember when you design, it will be coded by a developer. So majority of the time, when the product is developed, like the coded version of the data product, it can be used for testing. Then the prototype version is the one that you designed and you prototype on Figma. It can actually be used for testing. So before you do your usability testing, you need to like decide whether you're actually using the prototype or the version of the product that is live, because most times your product might be live. What I mean by live is that when you go online, use a particular URL, maybe it might be fintech.com, and you see the website or it will landing, they'll give them access for them to download it whichever way. So you need to decide which one you're using for the testing. So another thing you also need to know is to plan the journey or the prototype test, because there are different flows that your app is going to have. So you need to know the one that you'll be testing for first, testing for second, so that it will not overwhelm the user. So it will actually give you way to like segment your feedback and know where the user is having issue. So so here, let me open my Fig Jam. So as you can see here, this is like my Fig Jam. So this is an app I designed years back. So I brought this into Fig Jam. I arrange everything in flows. So let me say, for example, the user is going through this authentication screen and the user find the authentication screen very taxing and boring, or maybe the user is having some kind of frustration going through the authentication screen, because it's the authentication flow. I can record my feedback based on flow, and it will make me to like understand what the user is going through. So arranging things based on like tags, flows, it will actually help you to like track the particular section of the app that the user is having difficulty in when they were actually using it. So another thing now is to like gather your participants. So whenever you are gathering people, participants are people that you gather together to test your app. So you need to like gather people based on your personas. So so remember, you're actually designing to solve a problem, and you already have users that you're designing for. These are people that are actually going through that particular problem that you're designing for. So you need to like, in some scenarios, you might not actually call like the, let me give another scenario so that it will be more clear. So in some situation, you need to like call people that have similar problems to the main users that you are designing for. Because most times you might have different what's it called? You might have some users in mind, you might have different personas that your app is actually trying to solve the problem for. So sometimes you might need to like question the user to let them know that, okay, do you have this particular issue in this app? Or have you faced this particular challenge before? All this kind of stuff. You need to like ask the user, and you need to like confirm if the user is actually going through that particular problem before you bring them in as a participant. You don't just choose somebody out of the blue. You don't choose somebody randomly. So you just need to call somebody that is facing that particular problem, because they are the people that is in the best situation to like give you feedback on what the on give you feedback based on when they are using the app, give you feedback after they are done using the app. So they are the people in the best situation to like give you the actual feedback you are looking for, unlike somebody that is not going through that problem. So somebody that is actually facing a pain point can be like, oh, this particular feature I use it actually solve my problem, or so this can, you can make it this way for more improvement or something. So that's just it about that. So let's go into creating a simple document for us to track our users' feedback. So right here I'm on FigJam. So let me go back to, okay. So once you go to your Figma, so once you go to your Figma, you look up over here, Fig Jamboard. So first of all, how I was able to get this was that sorry. So I went to my Figma, I opened the designs I came up with. So I copied it. So this is my Figma file, not FigJam. So I copied the whole screens. I arrange all the screens in flows. So whenever you're designing, it's good for you to arrange it in flows. Like right here, we have the authentication flow for first-time users. So there are also some scenarios when designing, you need to like section your app like this. Let me show you what I mean. So right here, I'm just drawing a frame. So I'll call this authentication flow. So let me just increase it with my scale tool. So I'll make this test to be very bold. So here we have authentication flow. Because one thing you need to know is that the way you arrange your work can actually help your whether your project manager or the project owner, the main owner of the project, to understand what you are doing. So you can arrange it this way. So I call this one authentication flow. So I kept it one side. So here I'm going to call in here purchase airtime. Purchase airtime flow. Because it makes it more clear instead of your work to be very scattered. So I'll just move here, move this over here. So this app is a fintech app. I also put to pay for TV subscriptions, buy airtime, electricity bill, and for them to also purchase their internet data. So this particular flow we have here is the flow when the user wants to buy airtime, the set of screens that the user is going to follow. So you can also extend this frame like this. So that's because in real life, when you are given a project to handle, the project owner will always want to see what you have come up with in the Figma file. So they will come to your Figma file to see the screens you have designed, to also give corrections by leaving a comment on the file. So it's good you section your work like this for it to be very neat. So I'll just repeat the same thing over here. So this one is the flow where the user will, when the user wants to pay for electricity bills. So let me delete this. So I'll just arrange them. I'll just arrange this here. I'll just duplicate this. You can use your Alt to duplicate anything in Figma. If you're on Mac, you use your Option key to duplicate. So I'll call this pay electricity bill flow or purchase. I'll just leave the purchase. Electricity bill. So I'll just leave it at this. So you can see it's more neater. So you can even move this up and just stack them on top this way. So it's better this way. So that when the project owner comes or the project manager, they go through your work, it's neatly done so they can leave comment and they will know the flow of each screens, how each screen connects to the other. So now back to our usability test. So now I want to test this app I've designed. So, and I want to use FigJam to track all the response I'm going to be getting from users. So I did this one before, so let me show you how I did it from scratch. So here I'm going to create like a frame. Okay, they call their own section here. So I'll just click here and drag it like this. But this is where I'll be placing all my design. So I'll give it light green like this. I'll extend it this way. Then I'll go back to my schema and I'll copy. So I'll copy this, then Control V, paste it here. I'll just paste it here. Let me change this color to darker shade. You can extend it if you want to. So I'm pressing my plus to zoom in. So I'll go back and copy the next flow. I'll copy this. Come back here, Ctrl V to paste. Then I'll arrange it here. So I'm giving space because I want to name each flow so that it will help me to like track my response from the user. So one thing you need to notice that whenever you are doing like a remote usability test, you can use this method, this figure method, to track your response. But in situations where you are doing the usability testing face to face, so whenever you are with the user or maybe the user is giving a feedback, you can use your phone recorder to record what the user is saying, or you can take down notes because most times when you're with the user, you might not have time to be coming to your laptop, so you might just take that note or you might just record what the user is saying, the feedback the user is saying, then you come back and maybe use the information you got from the user to create a tabular form to track your response, or you do this fig jam way. So let me copy the next one. So I'll copy here. Paste it. Paste it here. Extend this down. I'll use my hand tool to move to this side. Click on my select tool, then drag this because there was one more frame there. So I'll just name this quickly. Call this an alt thing. All right, let's increase the. Okay, let's just leave it. I want to increase the size of the font, so let's leave it at that. Let me see if I can make it more bold. Okay, I'm able to increase the size. Make it 150. So I'll leave it here. And I'll duplicate this here. I'll call this and purchase airtime. This airtime flow. Now duplicate this. Call this and P. Just trying to name everything so that I'll not have to track my response. So now that I have this, so whenever you're trying to like track users' emotions, so you need emojis. So I already have some emojis here. Let me just bring it here. Remember what I said? You need to also track the user's facial expression. So for you to be able to do that, you use emoji. Because remember why you're documenting this is because there are some scenarios that you can't keep the whole information in your head. So you need to like document it down because most times you might have to like present the results and what users say from your usability test. But there are sometimes your project owner might want you to give some explanation based on what happened. Maybe the project owner was not um on the on the place where the application is being tested. So most times you might want to like give feedback of what happened. So you use this to like explain. So let me say, for example, this is like an emotion emoji. So maybe the user was feeling maybe some kind of emotional or feeling bad during this process or when the person was in this screen. We just place it there. So another thing you also need is sticky notes. So Fig Jam has sticky notes. So here these are like sticky notes. So the sticky notes is used for us to like track what we observe the user doing or if the user gives us feedback. So let me show you how to, sorry. So let me say when the person was about, the user rather, was about feeling this filling this particular form here in this screen. The user came to this screen, person is about to fill this one. Person, the first comment the user made was, let me just name this comment, was, or let me use user one, easier for us to remember. So the first thing the person said was, the data, the form is too long. The app is requesting for much information. This and user also makes statements like it's tiring. So you just write it down there. So you write it down so that when you want to improve your design or improve the product, you are going to make use of that feedback. So you just put this sticky notes close to the place where the user made that comment. Then let me see when the user is trying to purchase airtime, maybe the user has a kind of like frowning face and be like, oh, the color used in this design is too much. I can't see some things clearly. There are different, that's why it's good to test your designs with real users because there are different feedback that users will be giving to you that you are not even aware of. Because most times when you test your work, you tend to learn something new that you are not even aware of. So that's why it's not good to just conclude, oh, my design is good. Has it actually been tested with real users, not ordinary users, but the users that are actually going through that problem? Has it actually been tested so that you can actually get their feedback? Because remember, you're not designing for yourself, you're designing for those set of users which the application is meant to solve their need, solve their pains or whatever frustration they are going through. The app is to solve the problem they are going through. So you need to like test your application on those users. Most times they might talk about the functionality, they might talk about maybe the overall look of the app, they might talk about, oh, people that have color blindness, right? Oh, the color you use, I'm not seeing some text clearly or something. There are different feedback. So most times you might even be surprised. So let me say I want to change the color of this sticky notes. Let me delete this one. So I'll come here. Once I click, so I can change the color to blue. So I'll change the sticky notes here. I'll call this user one because we're still testing this app on the first user before we go over to the second user. So the user gives it feedback like the text here is not visible. So that is just basically how you be making use of this. So you can do it for each screens. So when the user is interacting with it, each feedback that the user gives, you use your sticky notes and you also use your emoji to track the user's facial expression. So most times you can also, maybe as you're doing the usability test, you might have some ideas that you might, for example, a user gives a particular complaint about a feature. You might have some ideas in your head that you might want to include, or maybe the user gave maybe an improvement to a particular section of the app or something. It can be anything. You might not want to use sticky notes. You just draw a rectangle, then the right hand side. So maybe small improvements, improvement tips. So I need this text to be very small. So let me zoom in, use my plus to zoom, and drag down. Because most times when you start testing your app, you start seeing some features that were not included. That is very important because when you test your app, some things that were not known to you when you were designing, it will start being aware to you in the sense like you might come up with a design and it didn't include something. So because a user is you're testing the app is being used by a user, the user is going through it, something will just come to you, oh, I didn't include this. So you just need to take note of that so that you won't forget. Include. So you just have to take note of it like this. So something I also want to mention. So whenever you are designing, before you actually start designing on Figma. Already talked about where you need to do your research, whether secondary research, quantitative, or whatever research method you want to use. So another thing you also need to take note of is to understand the business needs. So most times you might come up with your research, you have some data available, percentage of people face this, percentage of people face that, all this stuff. So because in some scenarios, there are some companies you might be working for, you might not need to do the whole data research, quantitative and qualitative or whatever. Maybe the one you might do to before you start designing might be quantitative analysis. So even when you're doing your competitive analysis, you also need to like understand the business need. As a product designer, you don't just design. You also need to understand the business. Maybe you're in a particular company, maybe the future that the application rather or digital product you're designing for that company. Try to understand what they are building it for, why they are building it for, what problem they are building it for, and what metrics would they use. Like if, for example, they succeed, what will happen for them to know that they have actually succeeded? So it's not just what do you want to design, what all this kind. So you need to like understand the main problem behind why the project is existing. So most times for you to know these things is for you to actually know how you communicate with your project owner, because you only know something when you ask questions and when it's being explained to you and you have a good listening spirit to listen and also ask more questions. So most times you don't need to assume, because I know most times when starting out, you might not know how to like ask questions so that it will not look as if you don't know what you're designing. But it's always good you understand something that are just beyond designing, because there are some scenarios where you might be designing, but your design is not functional, is not solving the business problem. Because anybody that is hiring you to the team to design is actually hiring you to design an app that will solve their problem. Despite the fact they also have users, but they want you to design something that when those users that they are targeting will use it, it will actually solve their problem. So you need to like communicate with either the project owner or the project manager to understand the whole scope, the business behind the app, why they are building the app, what problem, just understand everything. It can be maybe the technology behind the app, all those. So there are some things you understand when you start asking all these kind of questions, so that you'll not just jump into Figma and start designing something that you'll be asked to redesign again. And one thing you need to note is that it's good you ask all these questions at the beginning of the project, so that you will not waste, sorry, so that you not waste the project time, because there are some scenarios where you were expected to finish a particular design in 2 months just because you are just designing based on your own assumption and feeling. It's good to do research, but there are some scenarios where the project owner have already done the research, they already know what they need. So you need to like sit down with them and understand the problem they are designing for, understand their business. Sorry, I mean I'm not sharing. Okay, just give me a sec. Let me share my screen again. So you need to like ask all these questions so that you will not be designing blindly, because anybody that is hiring you to design for them, you also need to try as much as you can for you to save their time and any investment that they're investing for that project to go on. What I mean by time is that sometimes when you are not in sync with what the project is all about, when you don't understand the kind of project you are designing for, what I mean by understanding the project you're designing for, most times you might need to design a CRM. You don't know how a CRM platform works. You need to interact with other CRM platforms to know how a CRM platform works for you to know how to design a CRM. And another thing is that despite the fact you know how a CRM platform works, you also need to know how to tailor you already know how CRM platform works. You need to like tailor your designs based on what your client wants. And that's by asking them some questions about their business, different things, so that you be in sync. Because why I'm saying this is because back then when I was still like a junior designer, I made a lot of mistake. I was coming up with designs that when I finish designing, the client would be like, this thing you design is good, but it's not actually solving our problem. So you have wasted time designing this particular thing, and the company is expecting the designs to be ready maybe in 2 months' time, and you have wasted the whole of 2 months doing designing something that cannot be used. So you don't want to be in those kind of scenario. So you need to like know how to communicate, know how to like ask the right questions, because this product design is not just you being a product designer is not all about you jumping on Figma and just designing. You know how to make research. You need to also know how to like interact with the main people that hired you, because they are the ones that understand the business very well. They are the ones that know the goal they want to achieve when your design is being implemented, because your design still it might be an app, it might be a dashboard, desktop application, or whatever. The long run is that they want to use it to make sales, to make money, because that's the main reason why they are hiring you. They want to use the designs you came up with, develop it, and provide the solution to users that will use it, and at the long run they will make money. So you need to make sure you're actually saving the company time. So pay attention to all these things, communicate, ask the right questions for you to know actually what you're designing for. Also know what they expect to happen in each flow. It might be each screen. So most times before you start, when you're already in sync with what the client or project owner wants from you, or the project manager, whichever that is making you in sync. So most times when you come up with the first flow, try to show them. Don't just wait when you design the whole thousands of screens, because I hope we know that as a product designer, we're not just designing one screen. There are some applications that you need to design maybe 100 screens, 150, 500 screens, or even dashboard designs. You need to design thousands of screens. So instead of you to wait, you finish those hundreds of screens before you show them, take it maybe flow by flow. Let me say, for example, you are done with this authentication flow. You can show the client and be like, okay, I'm done with this authentication flow. I want to know what you think. I want to know if you have any correction. Then the user will come to the client, rather, will come to your Figma file and leave comments. Then when you're done with the purchase flow, you show them and know their feedback so that they can give you correction. So don't just wait till you finish. Most times you might be making some mistake you might not know. You just design thousands of screens that will be cancelled, and the client will be frustrated, and that might cause a little bit of issue in the when you are you being in the team. So I don't know if anyone has any question. If you have any question, you can leave a comment in the chat section. So remember that a new task has been dropped in the LMS. So if you have any issue, don't feel to ask me or to reach out to me so that we can.
So,
yeah, do someone have a question? Somebody's trying to.
yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can't hear you again. I don't know. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I want
can
to
hear
ask,
you now.
how did you connect your screens to the FeedJam file for users to be able to track the flow? Because my network was fluctuating, so I didn't know how you, because I saw you when you were going through to FeedJam file page to connect. I didn't really get that scene.
Okay, so what I think let me just explain a bit what the video recording we drop in the YouTube channel, but let me just explain a bit. So what I did was that I first of all arranged all my screens into different flows. So I talked about for your canvas not to be scattered. So that because majority of the time in real life, whenever you're designing, your clients always want to have access to the Figma file for them to see what you're working on. So it's good you arrange your screens this way. So what I just did here was a frame and a text inside the frame, and like naming each flow. So you can see this is a fintech app that helps users to buy their data. They want to buy airtime, TV subscription. So this is just what the app is all about. So everything is I arrange them in flow. So this is flow for airtime when someone wants to purchase airtime. Flow when user wants to purchase electricity bill. So what I did was that I copied this particular screen. So I just dragged my mouse by this, copied all by Control C or Command C on Mac. Then I came to my Fig Jam. So I came to my Fig Jam. Before I pasted that stuff, those screens rather. So I came here, section, and I dragged this section. Because if I just paste it, the white background will make the app not to be visible. Then I did Control V. So you can see here why I place it on this section first is because if I place it on the normal whiteboard, you can see it's not really visible. So I have to place everything on top of a section like this. So that was how I was able to bring the design inside my Fig Jam. And I also noted the flow. Here's the authentication flow. Here's the purchase airtime flow and purchase electricity flow. So that was how I was able to do that. Do anyone have any question? Okay,
Thank
somebody.
you.
Yeah, Samuel. Samuel, you have a question.
Good evening. So
Yeah,
concerning the assignment, you said it was stated in the assignment, in the task that we should use the design system we created, and we should use it for the second task, the problem we came up with. My own issue is that my design system that I created was based on the logo that I saw, and that was looking like it was looking more of a finance thing, and my problem was not about finance. So I want to say that, can I edit some of the things to fit into the into my problem theme, and also can I add more features to my design system? Can I add more design to the system? Because I didn't create like a bottom navigation, can I create that to it, just make
yes,
it complete?
yes, you can. So since you use a different logo for that your design system, so you can bring in the logo you want to use for your app that is in line with your second assignment where you narrated your problem and your user research. So you take the colors and just edit it. Maybe you can even duplicate the whole design system. So for example, the design system you created has a particular color. There's no need to delete it and change it totally. So you can just copy it, bring it down, then edit it. Because there are still some scenarios. Say, for example, you use blue color for your first design system. There might be other projects outside CodeCamp assignment. Maybe a client gives you a project and you're using blue. You already have blue shade palettes to use, something like that. So just copy the whole of the one you have already done. So duplicate it either to a new page in the same Figma file, paste it, then edit the new logo you want to use for your app, edit the color in that new one you copy, don't delete your first one. Then you can add in more components or more elements that you feel your design system should have. So let me show you my own design system. So despite the fact I'm your teacher, I also have my own design system that I'm coming up with. Sorry. So this is my own design system. So as you can see here, I already have my icon pack. So this is my icon pack. I got it from Figma community. I love the icon style here. So these are my buttons. I created everything from scratch. I created them into variants and components so that in case I want to change any button, I can change. You can see. And please, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Okay, so you can see my buttons. All my buttons here have different shapes and sizes. So there are some that the corner radius of the button is 8, some is 30 something, depending on the sizing you want to use. But I basically use, whenever I'm making use of sizing, so I use the sizing number that are divisible by 8. That's what I use. If I want to go lower, maybe number that are divisible by 4 or 2. So you can see different buttons, even the button that has icon in it or state. So I did for that individually. So this one shows the spacing I use for my buttons. So you can see I'm also using my red square method for my buttons here. So the red square method I use here is the sizing of 32. So I just placed it here so that I can know the sizing of each of my buttons. So all my buttons by the side is 32. So let me confirm. So up and down 16. So one pixel remaining from this label, up and down 16 pixels. So that's just basically how I did mine. You can see I also went for that to design a state when it's just only icon, because this is my own design system. I'm not only doing it for mobile app. I'm doing it like a very robust design system that I can use, whether I'm designing websites, apps, dashboards, whatever. I can use this design system for it. So let's see the buttons in action. So let me bring in one button here. So because I've already created all of these, the variant of this particular button, so I've dragged this out. So if I change it, so this change automatically. So if I'm using this for a dashboard and I want the corners to be rounded, maybe 16, I'll just change it and it will automatically change instead of me doing it manually. So you can add anything at all to your design system depending on your own need or whatever vision you have for your design system. So this is my own input field. You can see I designed for different states, error state, different state, even when it's being selected. I also did calendar. All this, I did it from scratch. Honestly, it took me weeks to design. I'm still designing it. So even the pills, selectors, tabs, segment, things called segmented controls, tabs, lists, cards, all this stuff. So I just designed for it. So this card comes in handy when I'm designing dashboard. So your design system can be very large as this, not only for mobile app, it can be for whether website, dashboard, any application at all. So I also have my grids too and my color palette. So these are the few things I just came up with for my own color palette. Your own color palette can be more, but these are just the few I came up with for this. So whenever I want to use this for another project, I will just change the color and I can just use the button. So that's just basically it for that. So do anyone have any question? So in the absence of any other, we'll call it a day. So please don't forget to do your assignment. It's very important. So along the line, if you have any issue, just reach out to me so that we can tackle the issue together. So that will be all for today's class. So see you in our next class. Bye.